Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host of the show. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk, Live. Welcome back, gentlemen. Welcome back, viewers, to tonight's episode number 85. Again, my name is Jay. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. In the studio this evening, we have Mr. Jeff Fasano coming in from Nashville, Tennessee. Josh Richard coming in from Southern California. And, of course, the man of the land from down under, he calls Australia home, Everest Love Heath. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good to see you, my brothers.
Good evening. Good evening.
So tonight, as we take a few minutes here to allow some of our viewers to jump on board with us, I want to take a moment here to welcome our viewers to episode number 85 as we wrap up the end of 2021. We got just two more episodes until we roll into 2022. If viewers, if you should hear something you like or love, I'd like to invite you to tap your love button on your monitor and light us up. If you have any questions or comments for us, drop it down into your comment section, and we'll do our best to acknowledge as many questions as we are able to in our podcast this evening. If you are coming in from YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. And if this is your first time catching an episode with us, please let us know what city, state, or country you call home today, and we'd love to welcome you to the podcast this evening. Gentlemen, tonight's show, before we jump into the show itself, tonight's topic is, does coming home knock you out of your zone? And before we kind of dissect and break it down, what do we mean by that topic? Again, does coming home knock you out of your zone? I do want to take a moment here just to make an announcement to viewers and listeners, to our family and friends and in the collective tonight. We have been invited, we have joined Your Health Network, which is a new health network channel that is live as of last week or so on Roku. And we will be also coming in shortly live into Amazon Fire TV through the channel Your Health Network. Right now, we do have a number of our past episodes up on the Roku channel. And we're hopeful that next week we'll actually be live streaming in through Your Health Network right into the Roku channel. And so we are honored, we are humbled by this experience as we continue to expand and grow in a very organic way. And really, isn't that what life is about? It is about expansion, and sometimes it is about retraction. And when I talk about retraction, I'm talking about going inward. And that's what our show is all about. It's always about the intention set is that we go inward to share some of our let's say our experiences, some of our strength, and some of our wisdom that we have picked up along our own journeys of this thing called life. And so as we jump in tonight's topic, Everest Love Heath, I'm going to invite you, because you did just an absolutely beautiful job this afternoon of doing a promo for tonight's show on Facebook Live, and I think you came in on maybe even Instagram, all about does coming home knock you out of your zone? What does it mean to you? And kick us off, warm us up for a real hot show tonight.
Beautiful. And all our brothers and sisters there across the other side of the pond, if you're here in the land down under, as always, as we come into the end of this year, 2021, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And I think it's, as always, just as many of our shows are, this is really an important topic, one that's close to my heart as well. And I think for a lot of us, particular what we've gone through over the last couple of years, as we keep mentioning, it's going to be really important on how we really relate to those loved ones within our lives. I came in this morning, I did a quick live regarding the show tonight, and, does coming home really knock you out of your zone? We come into this time of the year, my brothers and sisters, and, to be honest, growing up as a young fella, there was never any problems. And I still, to be honest, I don't feel like there's any problems within our family dynamic when we come to these holy days of the year to come together as the one and celebrate these particular times of the year. One thing that I do see though, and I've already talked to many people within my field, and they're going to have a tough time this time around in Christmas. They're actually dwelling, or I'd say dreading, the fact that they may have to, confront some of those people within their lives they call their family members at this time of the year. But why is it that we're coming into this time of the year and we bring some of these old stories that really go against the grain of what this spirit of Christmas is all about? We come into this time of the year, my brothers and sisters, and, on the Greek or the Gregorian calendar, this is a time of the year where each and all of us really have a chance to do some reflection, not only individually, but together in that family dynamic. But many of us, we carry on the old stories. We don't ask ourselves how old are we feeling in the moment when we may have some of these overlapping emotions and old stories that continue to perpetuate year after year when coming in close contact with some of those loved ones. What we want to really try and share with my brothers and sisters tonight is some tools and tips on how we can really navigate to really influence an energetic exchange, to really change this experience of this time of the year, my brothers and sisters. Because as I see this time of the year, and I mentioned this in the video this morning, this time is a year of the year is a time of giving. The spirit of Christmas is about giving. So if you're carrying old stories, I'm going to invite you from the start of this show, how can you forgive some of those stories that you've been carrying to celebrate this time of joy, love, and happiness? It's not about forgetting your past, my brothers and sisters. This is about bringing forth the true gift, which is your presence. So I'm looking forward to diving in deep with my brothers tonight. And let's go in, my brothers.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Josh, Richard, what do you make of this?
Oh, man. Yeah, that was so beautiful. It's not about forgetting. It's actually about forgiving. And so, yeah, it's tough because, we can't choose our family. And there's all sorts of different personality types. And we spoke about it a couple of episodes ago and last week about the stories and the boxes and labels and things that, we've placed on ourselves, we place on other people, and the other people place on us. And that all ties into family dynamics too. Where do we fit into the family? What's been our traditional role? And when we start to grow, evolve, change, it's tough because I think other people might not know what to do with that and how to respond to our moving out of a role or moving out of a box that they've typically had us inside of. And I think it causes discomfort for them as well. Maybe not knowing how to deal with a new us or a new this new presence as we grow and evolve. So when we can't change them, we can possibly change ourselves, and that's one of the things we're going to discover and talk about tonight. So yes, I'm excited to dive in and get things rolling. Seems like I got some audio trouble, so I'm going to swap out audio here, but take it away, Jeff.
Beautiful.
Oh, wow. In our production meeting, we were talking about, and you guys just brought it up, the story. So this time of year, when you're going to see family, what is that story that's coming up? I think it's about moving within, and instead of looking at the people outside of yourself, looking at mom, dad, your brother, your Aunt Alice, and all this good stuff, and all the things that they say that trigger you, if they do at all. What is that story? What are you anticipating? What is going on within you as opposed to looking at them and what you're going to have to endure, what dad's going to say, what dad's not going to say, how dad's going to judge you. What is that story around all of this that you can shift and change to possibly neutralize wherever you're going? Just recently, I have a friend who is going to see her family at Christmas time and was saying, "Oh my God, I just remember my father does this, my father does that." My father is always negative. My father is always talking about everybody and how much they don't like, he doesn't like this about them, he doesn't like that, or he's constantly negative. So I asked her, I said, well, in your infinite being and moving within yourself, when your father may start doing that, quite possibly you can neutralize the situation and ask dad, so dad, around the table right now, what do you really like about each one of us? And shift the energy in it by you staying neutral as opposed to opposing what's going on and fighting what's going on. And that brings you to a greater infinite place within yourself that maybe you can shift the energy from being quote unquote negative into something more neutral, if not positive.
Love that. I love that, Jeff. That's a beautiful example of how we can. I think, if I may paraphrase you, how we could shift and change or influence the energy in the room. And it's by basically, as you said, inviting the naysayer or the negative Nelly, if I may, into basically in a way, inviting them to, in that moment, just kind of flip the script. I want to share with y'all this evening, from my perspective. I think so many of us go into the holiday season, whether it be this time of year or any celebration of a family event or national holiday. And so much of the time we go in without any type of intention set, but we go in with an underlying expectation set. And there's a big difference between an expectation and an intention. And from my experience, a lot of times we go in a very, let's say, unconscious way to our gatherings. And what I mean by that is, unconsciously, we're going in almost hoping that maybe this time, this year, we will be seen, we will be heard, we will be acknowledged in a family dynamic. And the truth is unless our family members have done some internal work for themselves, most likely it's going to be another Groundhog's Day. We're going to get exactly what we've been getting. And what I have found in all of my relationships today is that what changes is my experience, and how it changes is when I go in, instead of with an expectation, I just set up an intention for how I want to show up, so that I'm emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually available. And it really helps to change my experience, whether it be over a dinner, a social event, or a family gathering. If we go in hopeful that this year will be different because we want everyone else to treat us differently, or those that have harmed us in the past or hurt us, we're setting ourselves up for another disappointment. What if we were to go into the family gathering, or even if it's friends, siblings, whomever it might be, and we set up, as you talked about a bit, Ev, you touched on it, is we go in with an intention set that we just want to be present, and we want to come from love and kindness, and just ask loving questions of others, show an interest, in the people around the table. And what else always helps me is I set one intention of I want to go in with dignity and grace. I don't want to exit with my dignity and grace intact. Meaning I don't want to get triggered. I don't want to get lit up. I don't want to get activated, as Sue Gaskell loves to describe it as. I want to just show up coming from love, coming from my heart space or soul, and not from my head space where my ego resides. And not trying to do anything different other than just be present and not leave with regrets, not leave with new resentments, not leave feeling one more year, one more time, my family doesn't understand me or see me.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is that the most important relationship to acknowledge in your life is the one within yourself. And even if your family members haven't done any, let's say, inner work to do some healing around their old wounds, traumas, and they're showing up the way they always have, it doesn't mean that you have to give your power away and allow them to hijack you in that moment. There's where we can lean into our superpowers. And our superpower is about taking different action, how we show up. Show up differently this year and watch what changes in your family dynamics. Now, it's simple, not easy. And I say that with a smile, because so many of the times, if we're just showing up and we're not setting ourselves up with an intention, as soon as we step into that home, especially if it's mom and dad's home or relatives' home, so much of the time we resort back to our role when we were a younger child or even a young teen. We go right back to our old patterns and our old behavior and our old assigned role in our family. Now, gentlemen, do you think that we have the ability to change the agreement, the unwritten agreement between, let's say, Eb, between you and your loved ones, or Josh, between you and your loved ones? Mm-hmm. Same thing with you, Jeff. Do you think that we have the ability to change our relationship or our agreement with our friends and family so that we don't have to show up and kind of like retreat and become that helpless, hopeless younger self that was hammered perhaps in our family dynamics in our younger years? What do you think of that question? Ev, want to run with it?
Yeah,
You know,
sorry, you go, Jeff.
Well, if you're watching 84 shows of Real Men, Real Talk Live, you'd probably have a hell of a lot of tools going into this Saturday. It's the inner work. Jay, you said something that was really interesting. Trying to get our loved ones to understand us, to know us. That's a story. That's an agenda. If we're doing the inner work and we are comfortable within our own skin, if we honor and value our worth, who we are, and know that value, then we can go anywhere. And we can walk in at that resonance and vibration, and we're not that 10-year-old, 11-year-old, or 15-year-old trying to get somebody else, whether it's your family or anybody else, to dig you and get you and know what you're about. Because we walk in that, because then that's the inner work. You know, we walk in as Jay just said, in our superpower or the powerful of the being of ourselves. And this is who I am. And I'm being it. I don't have to prove it. And I don't have to get anybody else to get it where I am. that's the powerfulness of the inner work and being who we are. It's just it's just that we can walk into a place and we know our worth, we know our value, we know who we are, we know who we've become through all of the work that we've done. We don't have to get mom and dad to see it. When my parents were alive, they never understood what I was doing as a photographer, but I never needed to had them to get that or even understand what I do in this world of the work that I do in self-help and all of that. I never felt I ever needed them to get it because it wasn't about that. It was about how we felt about each other as human beings, as people.
I want to.
Okay.
Go ahead, Josh.
I'm going to take the other side of the coin for a little bit, for a little walk here, Jeff, because I've done years of work as well. And to Jay, to answer your question, I have moved through 2 different narratives in my family. I was the good son. Then when my business crashed and I was numbing, I was the alcoholic and everybody switched to worrying about me. And now years later, I've moved into another role where they can trust me and I'm showing, all the work that I've done and all the healing that I've done. But all those years of work and healing, yes, it feels amazing within ourselves. And there's not that driving need anymore, like those negative needs that were fueling maybe our efforts in the past. But it is nice to celebrate this work that we've done in ourselves and how amazing we feel. And I feel like I'd like my family to be stoked for me in the new me, in the new, just sort of solid, self-trusting, self-loving, powerful me. And it is a little tough when they don't understand that or don't see that. And I know that doesn't need to be from family. I have friends that celebrate what I've done too. And my family does celebrate with me, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just throwing another side of the coin out there too, because it is nice to have that noticed and to have it celebrated, the work that we've done, because it's simple but not easy, like Jay says.
And brother, may I ask you a question? How old do you feel in this moment?
Right?
Yep. Sure. Young boy wanted to be recognized.
Right.
There you go.
And Josh, I just want to, I hear you. And dude, I get you, man. There were times, and I totally understand it. But a way we could look at this, and Jay just said it. We've done the work, and we continue to do the work because it's an ongoing process, that inner journey. But if we're walking into a room where people, they are where they are. I don't want to say they haven't done the work. They're just where they are. If they have never, throughout our history with them, ever even noticed themselves, how could they notice us?
Very good point.
If their value of who they are is where it is, and through the time they've never really even valued themselves to that point, how could they do it with us? How could they do it with another? Not even us. Take us out of the equation.
And the thing is, Jeff, look, we've come into that time, our brothers and sisters, that we cannot do anyone else's work anymore. We just can't.
Right. Yeah.
But this time is a time of the year to celebrate your transformation. It's a time of the year to celebrate your transition, how far you've come. I would invite everyone on that day of Christmas that we call to actually look at these members of the family or loved ones not even with a title. Don't even look at them as mum or dad or brother or sister or uncle or auntie. Could you just go in the room and just act as if they are just a human being? Can you start asking them questions? Get childlike curiosity, that spirit of Christmas, like that child wonder, and just sit in the magic of the time and space. Ask them questions as if you don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
You see, this is a time of the year where we need to show compassion. If we are coming from a conscious community consciousness, God, I'll try and say that 10 times, then we need to really emanate that light from within.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about this time of the year, Christ Mass, we should be witnessing the Christ within each and all of us. Have you been able to transform and transition into that Christ-like consciousness? You don't need validation. You know you've done your work. You know you've been through the troubles, and you know you've been able to come out because of your light. But can you show the empathy, not sympathy, but the empathy for another human being that you call your family, and ask them where they are on their transformation from this year? Because my brothers and sisters, putting everything aside that everyone has been through, have we just had enough separation without old stories being played out time after time after time? I believe it really is a magic day just to get to know people again, get to know a human again.
Beautiful. I want to bring up here. I know this is a long one, so please forgive me, gentlemen, for having your faces a bit covered there. Nick
Not
Martin,
me.
I believe this is Nick coming in from Chicago, and I'm going to invite one of you guys to kind of acknowledge or share some of your thoughts around his statement. He says, "I'm glad I joined you guys tonight." And Nick, welcome to the podcast. The difficulty for me is being in spaces with a family member whom has caused me trauma. How do you show up, be present with other family members while a family member whom has caused trauma is present? I literally revert to that young child feeling. There's so much trauma that none of the other family members understand that I've resorted to avoiding being around. I've done a ton of work and still continue to, but this has been difficult for some time. I'd invite you guys just to take a nice deep breath and let his question and his vulnerability just drop down into your heart space in this moment.
Yeah.
Beautiful question, Nick.
Yeah.
I want to take a moment, really, Nick, just to honor you.
Yeah.
And thank you for showing up right on time tonight and sharing your truth. And this, your story is not uncommon. So many of us walk into moments knowing that someone's going to be there that has harmed us or hurt us. And who wants to take a stab at Josh? Any words of wisdom for Nick?
Sometimes for me, in large trigger moments, it's about we want to change the feeling, right? We feel shitty. It brings up bad stuff. We feel bad, and we want that to change. And sometimes that need to change that becomes an anxiety in itself, and becomes something in itself. We got to remember, and this is what I remind myself in huge triggering moments, is that it's just energy. And these are just emotions, and they move, they ebb and flow. They're never stuck. And the thing is that today you're safe. You're safe because you're in your power. You've done the work. You were there to be the adult for yourself and to fight for yourself and stand up for yourself and live in your truth. So today is different, even though it's bringing up old feelings. And what we can simply do is notice the feelings, acknowledge the feelings, be that loving parent in that moment for ourselves, and then just know that it's going to move and you're not stuck in it and you're okay. and remind. Sometimes I was in a massive trigger one time, and I had to remind myself every 5 minutes when it swelled again, I am safe. I am safe in this moment. I am safe in this moment. And so know that the work you've done is there. It's powerful. That's not going away. And even though the feelings swell, know that they will pass.
I love
brother.
that, Josh.
Magic,
Go ahead,
brother.
F. Go ahead, F.
Oh, no, just magic. I just wanted to say that. And I think you really hit it on the head with just being in that present again. You know, some of these traumatic events, obviously they're linked to past memories and experiences that really are anchored by the emotions attached to it. You know, one thing for me, I would say, even just before you go into that particular day, when you come in to the same energy field as that particular person, is to actually visualize the day out before it's even played. Start seeing yourself actually having a nice occasion and actually being able to go through this particular experience, that everything is going to be okay, like Brother Josh had mentioned. Now, if there are these particular things that come up into the present on that specific day that you're talking about, and you start to feel that trigger or that activation of those emotions, this is where the breathing techniques and all the breathing practices that we should have been doing all year, if you've been watching Real Men Real Talk live, come into play. You can dismiss yourself from the room and take in those big, deep breaths.
There you go.
Do some breathing techniques.
There you go.
Slow down that heart rate. Give that nervous system a space, and that little boy the safe space that he's going to be secure.
Wow. Beautiful. Love that. You guys are breaking it down tonight. Whoa.
You know, I'd also like to add, I mean, the first thing that comes up for me, I'd want to know, if I was working with Nick, what that trauma is, to get the depth of the trauma and what he's feeling. My suggestion is, when, as Ev said, when you're getting ready to go there, if you're going there, is go within and ask yourself, what am I feeling? What am I feeling right now? What are the feelings that are coming up surrounding this? And be with those feelings in those moments. As Ev said, be with it, breathe through those feelings, you know, because if it is something that happened when in your childhood, it's about that safeness of that 9 or 10-year-old kid, and being safe in that moment and knowing that you are safe. But also, what also came up for me is that eventually we'd have to deal with that trauma, whether it's dealing with that trauma directly with that person, and quite possibly you might be feeling that it's time for you to express yourself to that person. So it's about bringing it within yourself and saying, you know, I need to come to a resolution with this somehow, though whatever that trauma is will linger. Maybe going in saying, you know, it's time to resolve this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeff, but I would suggest that it's not done at that family gathering.
If I finish,
Right?
What I'm saying is that could be the beginning of moving through it. You're not going to walk in and resolve it, or maybe that's what the gathering's for.
And there's another angle to take too, and I want to thank both Katrina May and Chris Morrison. I'm going to put up here Katrina May, coming in from Canada. Welcome to the show this evening. She says, sometimes you really shouldn't be around certain people. Sometimes we shouldn't have to accept something or someone's behavior. It's okay to remove some people from our life too. And I think where Christina and also Chris Morrison, who says, if you don't want to face that trauma really now, then don't. If you need more time or more work, then take that time for yourself. And then I'll paraphrase what I interpreted from both Katrina and Chris. Chris also coming in from the Phoenix Valley area of Arizona. Welcome to the show. I was thinking the same thing, which is that sometimes if you do a check-in with yourself, and in that moment, if you're not feeling like you are in a good space, you have if you have you're not in a mental, emotional space to step in, it's okay to put yourself in a time out, if I may. Set a boundary for yourself. Have that conversation with that little boy within you, and just discuss it and really come to terms with it, and then make a decision that this year, perhaps, maybe I'll pass. Maybe over the next 12 months, I'll do enough more work where I'll be ready to step into that environment and come from loving kindness for myself. And as Josh and Jeff and Ev have all alluded, learning how to step into that environment, in that space, parenting yourself, protecting that little boy, letting him know that he is no longer in danger, but he is safe as long as you are here, as long as you are present, and as long as you have one more breath to take.
And Jay, you nailed it too. It's because all of this is about going inward, right? And leaning into ourselves and trusting ourselves and our intuitions and our feelings and letting those voices get louder. And by trusting them and listening to them, they feel heard and they do get louder. And so, yeah, I've been in situations where I've even, done like Ev and Jeff were saying, a visualization where I was ready to do things one way, stepped into the moment, man, and it changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's allowed to do that too. And we're allowed to check in and say, you know what? I thought I was going to be okay in this, and I'm not. And that's okay too. It's all about what we're feeling inside. If you feel powerful enough to parent yourself through that moment or through triggering or big activation moments from others, then you can move through that and get curious around what feelings are being spiked and notice things in the moment. You can do that type of work. But yeah, if it changes, it changes. And you just got to trust yourself.
I want to take a moment here, gentlemen. Thank you for showing up right on time tonight for Nick. But I do want to take a moment here as we are really high into the season of reflection and celebration. Right behind or in front of Christmas, we also we have the new year coming up, and for many of us, we're confronted with a new challenge. And I really don't want to hijack this show around our current event, which involves the pandemic and those that are chose to be vaxxed and those that are not. But I do want to acknowledge, because Shannon Thompson mentioned in the feed that she's not really resonating with our discussion tonight, because if I'm not able to locate her comment right here, right now. But it really has to do with the fact that I believe she's not going to be attending her family event, her family gathering, because sounds like she's made a different choice that family members are not comfortable with. And so this is another level of complexity that is real. We are being forced to confront or acknowledge that we, even within our own families, we have a difference of opinion or a different way we are embracing this moment in time, whether we choose to have a vaccine or not. And I clearly do not want tonight's podcast to be about a yes or no on a vax, but I do want to acknowledge that it is real, and it is definitely a conflict within our homes. Ev, what do you make of this right now?
Yeah, I mentioned on a live this morning too that there is a possibility that I actually won't see one of my brothers again because of that particular reason, Jay. Because I haven't chosen to go down that path of being Jabberwockied, and it's sort of on his choice that he doesn't want to sort of come in that perimeter around myself. And, like I said, my brothers and sisters, this is a choice for everyone. This is a choice of the year. What we're talking about here, it can either be the old stories or it can be a time of celebration. But we have to show that compassion for these people that we call our loved ones. You don't know their stories this year. Maybe you do. but they are a human being that has been through just as much as you and I have, my brothers and sisters. So when I put that aside, that man that I call my brother is making that choice, I respect his decision. And I honor my own as well, my brothers and sisters.
It's about, because you know that, yeah, it can turn into a trigger, or we can flip it into a moment of compassion for their fear, for their worry, for them being caught in all of the different narratives that are flying around nowadays. I mean, we're coming off of some really tough times mentally, and everybody's been activated and triggered and in heightened state. So yeah, I think it's about flipping that to compassion and love. And that's
It is another piece of that too, Josh, which is, I think it's one of the 4 agreements. Don't take things personally.
right. Because
it's very easy for us, right? We create a story around, all of a sudden we're the odd man out in the family, or we create a story around it, and I actually am feeling some energy around that statement, what Shannon shared, and I just want to take a moment to honor you and let you know that I have tremendous respect for the choice that you made, knowing that it was going to create somewhat of a conflict or a divide in your own family. But I think both Evis and Josh have really nailed it really well from the perspective of, we could live in those emotions and feelings around feeling like we're no longer welcome, we're no longer part of the celebration in our family. But the alternative, and that's only going to bring us very low vibrational feelings and a low energy. And it's not going to ever serve you, and it's certainly not going to ever serve me. So I love how both Evis and Josh have invited you and others that are in this circumstance or predicament right now to really look at our loved ones. And even if it's not being invited to a social event with friends, to just really focus on empathy and compassion, to understand that it's, for them, they're really living to a large extent in fear. It's a fear-based choice, perhaps, that has you blocked from entering into that space. And really focusing on that component rather than focusing on how you not being accepted into the home to cross in is really to honor your own choices and not to take it personally. Again, simple, not easy, because it means that we have to do some work around that. And I'll tell you what, I have to do work around emotions and feelings almost on a daily basis.
Hourly?
If we're not doing that, then we're not alive.
We're not growing.
We're not growing. If we're going, but one of the things that I can, say to Shannon was, we make choices in our life based upon what we feel serves our highest good. And then with that come the ramifications of those choices. So we make choices, and I can tell you this, I mean, I used to go to my brother's house for Christmas every year out of obligation. And I never really enjoyed it. Never, ever really enjoyed it. And then one year I realized, no, it doesn't matter if I'm here or not. It's not resonating for me, and I'm not enjoying it. So I made a choice to go where I'm appreciated, to go where I'm honored, and to go where I'm enjoying the time I'm spending with people. And that was a long time ago. And I don't live in the Northeast anymore, or in New York anymore. So, but I made that choice a long time ago when I lived there. And I just said, this is the choice I'm making. If I'm going somewhere, I'm not going there out of obligation because it's some sort of thing I should do. and I'm sitting there and I'm miserable for 5 or 6 hours. I want to go where there are people who are resonating and vibrating with me, who I'm vibrating and resonating with in that moment, and where it's going to be a joyous experience of what I want. And but I understand how it. So it's about, as I said earlier, Shannon, what are you feeling? What are the feelings that are coming up for you? We all make choices, and then those choices have ramifications. And this is one of in this crazy time, in this world, in this portal of time, in this world, this is what's going on, and people are revealing who they truly are. And remember, it is not so much you, it is others revealing who they are based upon their 3D experience.
There you go. Hey, Jeff, while we got you in the hot seat here, we're going to get into our last segment of tonight's show as we're 15 minutes from the hour. And so I want to invite one of you, one of my co-hosts here, whether it be Ev or Josh, to hit Jeff up with a question around this topic, which is all about, does coming home knock you out of your zone? And really about tonight's topic, which is how can we show up, if we choose to show up, in a healthier way so that we can enter in with our dignity and grace, and we can exit out with the same dignity and grace intact, without any anger, without any resentment, without any new hurtful feelings that we take away and then we hold on to for another whole year. And so who's got a good question for Mr. Jeff tonight?
That so aptly put, Jay, that we're going to hold on for another year.
Well, that's what happens, especially if we're not consciously living, making healthy choices for ourselves. We just distract ourselves with self-soothing comforts that usually involve some type of addictive behavior because we want to numb out from the pain from this holiday season. And I say tonight, no mas, no more, not here, not now, not today. It's time for us to show up and grow up. And so, Fasano, you're up. Who's got a question for you tonight?
I do.
You have 2 minutes to answer.
All right. Clock is ticking. Jeff, I'm gonna hit you vulnerable, man. What is one of your bigger triggers? Doesn't have to be holiday related. And how do you navigate through when that old wound is touched upon or something hits around it?
My biggest trigger, Josh, is the same as yours. It's that trigger that comes up, or something that will happen that will trigger my not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
That
I know we're so similar.
It is that is quote unquote my kryptonite. That is, it's the when something triggers me that hits my deepest wound, which is not good enough.
How do you navigate that when it's touched?
It is a challenge to first go into the feelings. What am I feeling right now? What's coming up for me in this situation? My not good enough has been activated, and I'm feeling it. And then I go in and I start to just feel. What am I feeling right now? And I name the feelings and I breathe into the feelings of what's going on. And then I realize what it's triggering because of the work is triggering a wound. Because it's 2021 and I'm in the here and now right now, but it's triggering this wound of I'm feeling not good enough. I'm feeling I'm not worthy enough. And then the key to it is to stay with it. One of the things that I've learned is I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to avoid it. So I stay in it. I stay in the feeling. In the past, I would want to avoid it. I would start going back into an old behavior of think I need to prove myself to maybe that person who triggered the not good enough or something that happened. And then I would go through all of those old behaviors, as opposed to now I allow myself to be in whatever feelings that are coming up that allows me to stay present in the moment of now. And then eventually, it could be a moment of healing and growth. Maybe something, part of that wound that's been sitting there in that moment needs to be illuminated and healed.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Jason Newport, love to know where you call home today. Jason, welcome to Real Men Real Talk Live.
Jace is in the land down under. He's one of the brothers.
There you go.
Nice.
He says great strength. He gets great strength from self-love. Believe you are good enough. Jason, welcome to Real Men Real Talk Live. We talk about that all the time, brother. Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. Josh, you're up, my friend.
Oh,
Who's got a question for Josh?
I could go touche, Josh, and ask you the same question.
Go on, then. Fire it back at him then, Jeff.
oh man.
Try to get you back.
Well, and Jay, you even challenged that last week, man. I mean, I know we're talking about something different, but you hit me with a good realization that I have worked so hard in my life. I have done so much, and I've just worked myself to the bone to achieve so much because of that narrative, that old nasty story of I'm not enough. So yeah, I'll tell you a quick story of when I was triggered and what I did. Thank you, Elizabeth. Jeff and I, we're still working on it. No, man, I did a pitch up in Silicon Valley. I had a tech startup years ago, and the mayor, the so-called mayor of Silicon Valley, huge guy, was there and spoke to me about my pitch beforehand. Said he was really excited to hear what we had to say, coming up all the way from Hollywood, and we were an entertainment tech startup. And man, I have never bombed a pitch harder than I bombed that pitch that day. I completely stumbled, forgot my lines. I blanked. I was terrified on stage. I pulled out my actual script and read the rest of my pitch. And this guy sitting in the audience, who was admittedly now my father figure, approached me afterwards and just looked at me and shook his head. And he said, "You never read your pitch." And I went into excuses and saying, hi, I didn't have much time. I'd only had a day to prepare and drive up because I was accepted so late and this and that. And he just said it again. "You never read your pitch." And he walked away. And man, oh man, the young Josh and all of wanting to be loved and seen by dad were massively triggered in that moment, hugely. And that was the moment I was talking about earlier, when I had to tell myself every 5 minutes, more than that, every 30 seconds, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. And I was sober at this time. And yeah, all I wanted to do was drink. And all I wanted to do in that moment was numb. This was earlier on in my healing journey. And that was what I knew would take it away. And I had to remind myself every 30 seconds, I am safe. This is not a tiger attacking me, as my primitive emotional system is feeling that I need to run or numb or just make it stop or make it go away. So yes, that was how I did it, was just remind myself in the moment that I am safe. I am safe in this very moment, and I am okay. And the today me would add upon that. I was triggered last Friday. And what's really fun now is that I have the opportunity to notice these feelings. Then Jeff, you touched on it earlier, that we can now explore them and say, what is this? What's underneath this? What is this about? And we can actually get deeper into those and discover maybe some of the reasons. But it's not always as easy when you're right in the moment and it's inflamed and hurts and you just want to get the hell out of there.
Josh, I want to ask you, in that moment, going back to even last Friday, when you, as you just acknowledged, you were lit up, you were activated, triggered. What did you do differently this time than in the past?
Man, I don't know. That's a good question, Jay. This time there was a lot more self-love and noticing. And also, I would say the biggest difference was realizing that last Friday's was somebody else's things and not my own. And so therefore I could separate from it emotionally. And then I was able to recognize the trigger that it touched upon. And then peacefully explore that. Even in an activated state, I could explore what did this person touch upon, and why was it so activating? But yes, the biggest difference now was that I realized it wasn't my own.
And if I may add, you didn't run and hide.
Yeah, no,
You confronted
there
it.
wasn't. And it's funny that, yeah, that's a very good. The thought of drinking didn't even occur to me that day.
Oh, I wasn't even inferring. We don't have to be
Well,
drinking to run and hide.
That was my
Pandemic-
way of running and hiding, Jay, was finding a bottle and numbing. So for that not to be there.
I was actually inferring, Josh, too, that another way we do that is we just go back into the old narrative, the old script, the old story is it's about me. I'm not good enough, and we can literally detach and isolate within our own home.
Sure.
And run and hide that way. So there's many different strategies that we embraced in our younger years when we didn't know how to process our feelings and emotions around experiences with other people.
Yeah. We did what we could in the time, knowing what we knew.
Beautiful. Love that, Josh. Richard. Thank you so much, Josh and Jeff, for sharing some beautiful vulnerability this evening and some truths in your life. Evis, love, you're up, man.
What have you got for me, brothers? Give us a quick question.
Question for John.
I based upon what you shared with us about what's going on for you this Christmas, Ev, with your brother. How are you moving through it?
I'm moving through it, at peace and calm, because I've accepted this whole experience, my brother. I know my brother, and he's my blood brother. He's going through the healing journey as well, and that's why I really invite people this Christmas to look at our brothers and sisters that we call our family just as human beings. Start showing some humility this Christmas, my brothers and sisters. And one important thing that Josh has mentioned there too, see if you can go into this time of the year of a celebration without the need of maybe some of these numbing out things that we have, like alcohol. Can you go into this time of the year and just be at peace with just turning up in your own presence without the need of that consumption? I've found from personal experience, even I've put my hand up, that when I've numbed myself out from that alcohol over this time of the year, I've forgotten about the whole experience. Brothers and sisters, this is a time of the year to celebrate. This is a time of the year to celebrate. Many other cultures around the world celebrate this time of the year for different reasons. I celebrate this time of the year because of everything that I step out on the country every day. And that is, over in your side of the pond, it actually appears on the 21st, the 22nd, that sun, that Christ, that light that we out there see appears to fall under the ecliptic. You actually have a few days of darkness, don't you, my brothers and sisters? But on that 25th, that day of the so-called birth, the Savior, it rises. So my question is to you, my brothers and sisters, to wrap this up tonight, is have you risen after your fall this year? Honor that, saviour that, because no one else is going to come and save you except you, my brothers and sisters. And so from my heart, much love for your Christmas this time of the year.
Beautiful. Thank you, Av. Who's got a question for me?
You got 50
Who's got one? Who's got one?
Got one, Ev? I'm out.
You're out. One gift, Jay the Rough Man. One beautiful gift that you can give to our brothers and sisters if they're going to go through this particular stuff that we've shared tonight from one of your personal experiences.
I think it comes down to really just honoring yourself and stepping in, knowing that whatever prior stories or scripts or narratives that you've lived in, they're not true. That's not who you are today. And go in with a full heart, do some self-care, maybe do some self-care before you step into that social gathering. So you step in with balance, inner balance, knowing that you're more than enough. You're beautiful just as you are. You are love. You are light. Regardless of others see it or not, it just may mean that they need to get a new set of lenses. But don't distrust what you see within yourself. I wish for all of you to have a healthy, beautiful holiday season, coming from love, coming from acceptance, coming from compassion. Let that be more than enough. And just learn how to trust yourself. I love you guys. Thank you for episode 85 this evening. We'll see you next Thursday evening, right before New Year's, on Real Men, Real Talk Live. Peace and blessings.
Happy holidays.